Finally, there is a Spellbreaker solo build, and this build is actually quite strong. It has a lot of DPS, it has some very nice CC as well, and the fast-pacedness of this build make it very fun to play as well. So without much further ado, let's jump right in. Disclaimer, this is probably the worst elite spec from Warrior to actually play solo, so I would say Bladesworn and especially Berserker are better in the terms of how tanky, how much survivability they have. As a solo build, I already made build guides about them, be sure to check them out, they're in the description below. But it's still very, very capable of soloing almost anything in the game. So let's start with the gear. So for gear, you want to run on full Berserker gear with Rune of the Scholar. If you can afford infusions, go for power infusions. For weapons, again, you want to go with full Berserker weapons with Force and Frailty on both weapon sets. You would use in one hand X Mace and in the other hand Dagger and X in the offhand. For trinkets, however, you don't want to go Berserker, you want to go with Dragon pieces. So you get some more ferocity and passive some nice vitality that helps to survive as well. For Relic, you want to go with Relic of Securus just for some more healing while you're under the effects of Fury. Very nice. That's the setup. It's quite squishy. You have a lot of healing, but if you get hit hard. So be aware of this. You are quite squishy even though you're playing a heavy armor class and have a high health pool. So keep that in mind. Use your full counter very aggressively as a defensive tool. So that means whenever you want to get no damage, use it. Don't hesitate. It's very important to actually use that off cooldown. For consumables, you want to go with Peppercorn Crusted Sweet Steak, of course, minus 10% incoming damage, power and ferocity, perfect. If you can't afford the Ascended version, you would go with Boys of Sweet and Spicy Botman or Squash Soup. Just the same stats without the minus 10% incoming damage. Very valid alternative. For utility consumables, you would go with Superior Sharpening Stones or something similar to stats. Now to the traits. For the traits, you want to go Arms, Strength and Spellbreaker. Strength gives you a lot of damage with the peak performance passive, and with you when you use your kick, you actually get a 10% damage buff as well. Some nice endurance on burst skills, you get some might application and power, and even more crit chance, and your burst skills give you some nice damage bars. That's very good. On arms, you get a lot of crit chance and fury. That helps a lot. You have increased crit chance against bleeding foes. That can help because your crits actually apply bleeding. And then you get fury whenever you disable a foe. That helps you upkeeping fury. It's very important because fury is very, very strong. Gives you 30% crit chance in this build. And then very, very strong trait. Increase critical hit chance against disabled or defiant foes, and you will probably have either disabled foes or defiant foes that you fight, so you get at least 25% crit chance, which is obviously really good, and that's why you can pick so many dragon pieces to actually help you survive. And then lastly, you take dual wielding, very strong trait after the buffs. Attack speed is increased while wielding a main hand weapon in your offhand, which you do in both weapon sets, and heal when you critically strike a foe while wielding a main hand weapon in your offhand, and this heal is increased when critically striking a bleeding foe. Typically, it should be a bleeding foe, so you get some nice healing from that. The attack speed now stacks with quickness, so that means you get actually quite a lot of increase of attack speed. So that is really, really strong. And this is obviously why you should camp your dagger after your opener, but we will get to that in a second. Now to Spellbreaker. In Spellbreaker, if you need more defenses, you go with Guard Counter to get some protection. Otherwise, you will get hit very hard because you don't have any toughness. If you don't need that, you can actually greed for more DPS. You would go for Pure Strike. That helps a lot. It's a big damage increase. But like I said, the full counter protection can be a very nice way of actually dealing with some hard-hitting bosses. It's a boon removal and some very nice damage output increase. And that's very important why you should use a lot of CC skills to actually get 50 power, ferocity and precision whenever you use a CC skill. And that's very, very strong because that you can upkeep quite easily. So you get a lot of precision, ferocity and power from that. Try to upkeep that as high as you can. And last, you get some nice might and damage to the tethered target, so that's really quite nice for the damage increase. This build can deal very easily with a lot of bosses that have boons because you get a lot of boon removal baked into the kit as well. Just keep that in. So for the skills, you have a lot of flexibility on your healing skill. You can go for Defiant Stance if you need some damage inversion. If you want to go for some passive healing, go for Healing Signet. If you need a Conduit Lens, go for Mending. And also for the damage buff. So there are a lot of options there. For the elite skill, I would always go with Signet of Rage. There's some nice fury uptime and might and swiftness. That helps a lot. But of course, you can also go for other things if you really wanted to, but that's the best option. For Great Justice is always on the bar because it gives some nice fury and might access. Used it, of course. And Kick I would always keep on the bar as well because it's some nice CC that procs your not only peak performance, but also the attacker's insight. so you can actually use that quite frequently. It's very nice. And passively, Signet of Might gives you some nice power and possibly some Night if you cast it. This you could swap for something if you need, for example, Condi Cleanse, go for Shake It Off. If you need stability, go for Dolyak Signet. There are a lot of options there, but this is the most aggressive one for the damage. On your weapons, like I said, you should use your dagger auto attack all the time if you after your opener. And of course, use your 3, your F1, and your kick as a nice CC skill to block the attacker's insta. Of course, you can also do this with the full counter because the full counter is a CC and it will reset your burst so you can use your Breaching Strike again. You should only use the X and Mace for vulnerability for burst phases or in the opener. I would not use the X to actually do the auto attack because the auto attack on dagger is better. So you would use in the opener the X2, Mace 4, Mace 5, Mace 4 again, and then you swap to dagger, use your X4 here, use your dagger 3, dagger F1, kick into Whirling X, finish it completely. Of course, use your Great Justice, spam it already at the beginning, as well as the Signal of Rage, and then use your dagger auto attack, and whenever the F1 and your weapon skills 3, 4, and 5 come up, use them. If you need to deny attack, use full counter to reset your Breaching Strike and use it again. So it's very straightforward. Always try to upkeep the attacker's inside and you just spam auto attack after that and use the 3, 4, and 5 of cooldown. You can see this build is very fun to play. It's, like I said, quite squishy. It's not as tanky as the other 2 Warrior Elite specs, but it's still very capable of soloing a lot of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this quick guide. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. Thanks Malice, thanks Lane, and I hope to see you all in the next video.